let's work more closely on the design system. We're going to be continuing from where we left off last time, where we finished designing this navbar. Now today we might make some changes to the navbar, but primarily we're going to be working on the system. Here we have some things we did not track on the system. The first thing being this font here, for example. So we have a font, and I need to add a new style to it. Uh, Here I have the three primary. Actually, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 elements here, which are the most important. But we can just uh, forget some of these. For example, the Helvetica font family type here is going to be the default one, so I'm not going to be including it in the naming. But I will be including the size, which is the most important part. So I'm going to call this around the medium, so MD. And then I'm going to call it bold. And then we have the line height and the letter spacing. For both of them, I'm going to go with auto. So auto for the first line height and auto for the letter spacing, meaning 0%. So I'm just going to be creating this. And I'm going to move to this side where I have this text with the same properties. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to apply that. Now I'm going to go to the home. And here you can see something a bit different. Instead of 16 pixels, we have 14 pixels. So that's going to be small. And instead of bold, we're going to be having regular. So regular. Then again, auto for the line height and the letter spacing. Okay, so let's create this style. Now I want to select all of these. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we can just go ahead and apply these styles. Now, after doing that, I want to go back to our system here. And I want to duplicate this and move it down here. Now, this will be for the type or typography. So we can call it typography. And for each of them, I'm just going to write out an expanded version. So the first one was we had MD, right? So MD will be medium. Okay, let's just make sure that we have our sizing properly matched. So this will be medium. And from there it would be regular. Actually, it's going to be bold. Then it's going to be auto. Okay. Okay, so this will be our font. So I'm just going to decrease this a bit here. I'm going to actually give it the size of our medium bold auto here. So this is what it's going to be looking like. And I'm going to just remove this since we don't really need it. This is already defined here. And I'm going to ungroup it from here. Now let's duplicate this. And I'm going to stack them vertically. Now next up we have our small regular. And for this one, we can just apply it here. And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in braces and I'm just going to say 16 pixels here. And for the line height, I'm going to go 0%. That will be the same as what we're doing here. And actually, that's not the line height, that's the letter spacing. So just something to note here. Again, for the small ones, I'm going to go 14 pixels. And I'm going to go 0% here as well. So just being more descriptive. Okay, great. So we have a very minimal design system for obviously. Now we can move on and let's go back to the design. Now there are some more elements we have to track. But before doing that, what I want to do is I want to create a separator between the navbar and the content, the hero section that is to come. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to create a frame. So this frame will be housing the navbar. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to take or copy this width property. And here I'm going to make this into an auto layout. I'm going to center its content. There won't be any gaps, nor there will be any padding. But it should occupy the full width. And this will be our navbar container. Now for the navbar container, we have to go inward into the navbar and apply the 1236, which we just copied, and that will bring it towards the center. And that is from a reference point of the grid lines that we prepared last time out. So at this point, we can just go to the container and add a stroke. Now the stroke should be only at the bottom. And I don't want to go full white because that takes too much attention. And I don't want to go full black because that doesn't provide as much contrast as is needed. So we need to go somewhere like this, which is very subtle. Yeah, something like this, which is very subtle, but visible enough that you can clearly distinguish where the navbar starts and where the navbar ends and the hero section starts. Obviously, as we go more further into the project, some changes might occur on the navbar, but for now, I think this is quite enough. So again, we need this color here. So obviously, we need it to be a different color from what we already had. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to add a color style. Now this is gray, but it is much darker than the 600 we had previously. So I'm going to go with around 300 here. Okay, now that we have applied that, we have to go back. And just between the 100 and the black, I'm going to duplicate this. Actually, between the gray 100 and the gray 600, I'm going to have the gray 300 that we just created. And I'm just going to go ahead and change this to be gray 300. Now I'm going to need the text, which is just 34. So actually, I think I've applied it on the wrong place here. 34. Okay. We want to go here instead. And we won't really need the stroke. But instead, we're just going to apply this here. Great. So since we already had these strokes being applied, we can just go in here and change them back to what we already have as our primary stroke color. Okay, great. Now we can move on. Let's go back to the design. And we have already tracked much of our components, but something remains, which is the corner radius here. And we have a corner radius of 8 pixels. Now I want to track this variable as our variable collections. We can name this to be our corner medium MD, and its value would be 8. Okay, great. For now, we don't really have any more corner values, but in the future, who knows what could change. I was actually thinking to try and experiment making this a pill container here. I'm not sure how this will turn out, but I think this is interesting. An interesting implementation that gives just a bit more of a point of visual interest to the design overall. So this is something to consider. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to return to the regular sort of rectangular curved shape, but for maybe when we move on with the project, we can try to experiment with something like that. So yeah, let's go back to the system. And what I want to do here is I want to take the fonts. Let's bring this up. And here, this will be corner radiuses. Radius, so is it ready? Hopefully I'm right. I'm not sure. Anyway, though, I'm just going to take one of these. Actually, let's just take this one. And Control-Shift-R here to paste and replace. Again, making sure that everything is in the right position. Now, we're going to start from making this a regular 8-pixel corner radius. And this will be our small. Okay, if I can type small, 8 pixels. Okay. So in the future, we probably will need more. But for now, I think that's enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go throughout here and I'm going to be selecting all of the squares. And I'm going to make the corner radiuses 8 pixels. Okay, great. One last thing is I want to go into the actual text and change this into... Actually, we're probably going to be creating a variable for this in the future. So for now, I'm just going to leave it here, but I'm going to change this to be corner small. Or just small, since it's already under the corners frame. Okay. Okay, so I think that's all of the components tracked. And there are obviously a design system is composed of many different elements. Even greater than this. This is just a good introduction for you, I think. And as we go on through the series, it will keep growing and you'll see what a real world design system might resemble, even though this is more on the simpler side of things, even if in its most complex form. So yeah, I think that it's very good practice. You can try to like experiment on what else could you track into a design system. A design system is very important to keep when working with different people, especially in large teams, to have the same idea of what kind of implementations you should have in your design. It also makes it easier for you to manage large Figma files and large projects even as a beginner, and even if you're working alone, is something worth knowing. So I think that's quite enough for today. We did a bit of exploring here with our design system. I would like to finish this by giving the gray 100 background color to our navbar, which doesn't really change it, but it's good to have if we want to, for example, take it out and experiment with it. So it's something good to have. I'm just going to return it for now. And yeah, again, thanks for the support on the series so far. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop it down in the comments and I'll try to answer them as much as possible in the next video. And yeah, we're going to be continuing with the hero section starting from the next video. See you there.